All right, well, good morning. We are going to go ahead and get started. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and see what happened here. I'll share my screen, but I don't want to share my screen of me. That's not the one I wanted. There we go. That's what I wanted to share. Okay. So real quick before we hop into the study for today, for those of you who see this as a recording, just wanted to point out that we have a Facebook group where we're going to be archiving the recordings of these trainings that we have each day for 30 minutes or so. So this is a place you can go and find those, also a place where you can interact with us outside of the 30 minutes each morning that we're together. So encourage you to come join us, daily law of attraction training and support with Coach Kevin. You can find us at facebook.com/daily law of attraction training. And the next thing I'm going to do is just hop into what we're studying. We're hopping into a new book today. Funny that I'm saying the word hopping because the book is called The Jackrabbit Factor. Lately, we've been studying predominantly books that are anywhere pretty close to 100 years old or older. We're going to go into something much newer than that, and you can get it for free. So you're going to look up Jackrabbit Factor ebook or Jackrabbit Factor PDF, and you'll be able to find it. It's when I say look it up, Google it. There you go. Google Jackrabbit Factor or Jackrabbit Factor ebook or Jackrabbit Factor PDF. You'll be able to get a free copy of this book, and it won't be difficult to find. What I was wanting to share with you is it was written by a friend of mine. I've kind of told the story of how I got into the personal development realm and went through a seminar around a book called The Science of Getting Rich. It was one of Bob Proctor's coaches and facilitators back in the day that I did that in February of 2006. Well, this is the person who actually taught that seminar and workshop. And at the time I was living in Arizona, and she is also in Arizona at the time. And we found out we didn't live but more than 15, 20 minutes away from each other. And so we actually developed a friendship. And I can tell you that Leslie is totally an amazing person. And I was thinking about today, what book should we go into since we're doing a new one? And I was thinking of a different one originally, but I wasn't finding a copy of that book. And then I was like, oh, and then this came right to my mind. The other one didn't feel like it came. It was just one that I think is a great book for us to study together. But it came to me to share this one with you. And if the other one, like I said, I was able to download it, but if I just didn't like the printing of the book, the copies I was finding. So that led me to think of this. I think God put it in my mind to share this one at this time. So this is the one we're going to study together. And this one is a little bit different because it was written in the form of a story. So you're going to catch how the law of attraction works, but you're going to catch it by us going through a story of someone else's life. The characters are fictional, but they actually represent predominantly the journey that Leslie and her husband, Trevin, went through in learning about the law of attraction. This ebook is dedicated to all who, like me, have wanted to give up on a dream, but decided to take just one more step. Leslie Householder, the award-winning best-selling author of The Jackrabbit Factor, Why You Can. And she's written some other books too at this point. You will be able to move forward with confidence in pursuit of your dreams. You will know who to listen to, and you'll be able to trust what they say. In short, you'll be able to proceed methodically toward your worthy ideal, whatever it may be. Leslie Householder. Thank you for not forwarding at the time because it's not public domain. She'd prefer that you go download it from her website. Although just now I was able to get it from her website without even downloading it. So I think she's even changed that and it's just being given away at this point. People can actually find her afterwards. But it was originally written or published in 2005, and it's been updated a few times since. Okay, we got table of contents here. We will go ahead and skip through that. And let's go to the preface. Interestingly enough, she's talking about a gentleman that I also have had the opportunity to meet and get to know a little bit right here. So this person's not fictional. John W. Sims, a highly successful businessman, spoke of a time when he was traveling with an associate. The associate said, "John, aren't you going to put on your seatbelt?" John replied with his raspy tenor voice, "Why? Are we going to get into a crash?" "Well, no, but seatbelts save lives." John retorted abruptly in his usual blunt way, "Seatbelts don't save lives." "Of course they do. See, I was driving down the road with my family, and something told me to make sure everyone was wearing their seatbelts. So I turned around and had the family get all belted up. Right after we turned a corner, there was another vehicle coming straight at us in our lane. It was a head-on collision, and we all survived because of those seatbelts." John was firm. "No, the seatbelts didn't save your life. Whatever told you to put them on saved your life." Think about that, guys. Think about that for a minute. No, because we always think it's the thing, the action, the plan that we come up with, right? No, the seatbelts didn't save your life. Whatever told you to put them on saved your life. Probably a decade has passed since we heard John relate that story, leaving a lasting impression on us. Its message has deepened and taken on new meaning. The more experience we have, the more profound the idea becomes. Hold on, let's see a quick chat here. What do we got? Hi, everybody. Hey, hi, Joseph. Thanks for joining us. If you go Google, you can follow along on the screen. If you go Google Jackrabbit Factor PDF or Jackrabbit Factor ebook, you can find a free copy of the book, and we're just getting started with it. Probably a decade has passed since we heard John relate that story, leaving a lasting impression on us. Its message has deepened and taken on new meaning. The more experiences we have, the more profound the idea becomes. He is right. It wasn't the seatbelts that saved their lives. True, they played a part in the actual physics of keeping their bodies secure during impact, but the credit belongs to the voice of warning. The life-saving seatbelts were there during the entire trip, but the timeliness of the prompting and the man's response to it changed the would-be tragedy into a miracle. And if anybody's off of mute, unless you actually have a comment, if you could go back on mute while we're doing this, we'll have time for question and comment when we're done. This reminds me of a time when Leslie and a friend of hers planned a date for me and another young man back when she was in high school. Earlier in the week, with the intention to take us to a picnic, she and the friend preparing a recording which described their every move as they traveled from starting point to the final destination. When it came time for the event, the other young man and I waited at a payphone for instructions as to where to find the hidden audio tape player. The instructions over the phone told us to turn it on and follow the directions explicitly. At the end of the journey was the picnic fit for a king. But along the way, the girls followed us incognito. The most hilarious moments came when we tried to follow the instructions on the recording, but in the wrong places. Having accidentally fallen out of step, we found that the description of the ladies' actions no longer suited our surroundings, and to them, it became absolutely laughable. If we had only known where the girls were trying to take us, we could have improvised and found our own way without them stepping in to point us in the right direction. While this type of activity is good, clean fun for teenagers going to a picnic, it is an entirely different story when applied on life's journey to happiness. Yet, in actuality, this kind of nonsense happens all the time. Sometimes we look at others who have reached an admirable destination in their life and proceed to imitate the same steps that they took in an effort to achieve the same results. While we may learn a great deal from people who have what we want, we must realize that we are not always on the same sidewalk, so to speak, as they were on when they began their journey to the picnic. We also must not be so surprised when we end up with different results after duplicating their actions. And that's exactly what I talk about over and over and over again about watching people, that we think we're doing exactly what they're doing, but our results are not nearly as effective or as profitable or as desirable as theirs. It's because we are not in the same frame of mind that they're at when they were doing it. Okay. Our subconscious programming was different than theirs. Have you ever seen the disclaimer attached to their success stories? Results not typical. Believe me, I know that legitimate programs are truly fabulous, for we've had a number of them work wonders in our life. But why aren't the results typical? What about the people who found the directions perfectly but failed to enjoy remarkable results, or followed the directions perfectly but failed to get enjoyable, remarkable results? How can we know if a get wealthy, get skinny, or get happy program is going to deliver in our life? If we want the same results as someone else, we shouldn't so much do what they did, but rather learn how to think like they do. Let me repeat that. If we want the same results as someone else, we shouldn't so much do what they did, but rather learn how to think like they do. What they did may very well be exactly what is required to achieve the same success, but we each bring with us different life experiences and a different variety of baggage. These elements make a difference in our results. Therefore, we must discover the little voice inside of us that helps us get the direction and the timing right. I'm going to take a quick sip of water here. If we have our eyes on the picnic table and it is in clear view, then instinctively we will know how to get there. If we meet with an obstacle and cannot make it on our own, then inspiration will lead us to the right instructions designed perfectly for us to take us from where we are to precisely where we want to be, at a pace that is right for us. Let me repeat that, at a pace that is right for us. We can enlist the inner voice to help us find our way simply by keeping a clear image in view of exactly where we're trying to go. By learning to recognize the voice and submitting to its advice, soon enough we become the latest success story and provide the next inspiring testimonial for the fabulous Get Happy program. Is the program responsible for our success? Not any more than the seatbelt was exclusively responsible for saving the family from death. Success comes as a result of preparing oneself for inspiration and then being willing to pay attention to it and do what it says. I've learned that before I make big decisions, I must first have a clear picture in mind and on paper of the outcome I am seeking. What is the lifestyle I'm after? In what kind of home do I want to live? What kind of relationships do I want with my family members? What kind of friends do I want to have? What picnic would I like to attend? I must answer these questions in detail and actually commit the answers to paper. Then and only then do I look for inspiration to direct me. That is when I'm ready to listen to and consider someone else's advice. That is when I am the student who is ready for the teacher to appear. However, since every idea that comes our way may be either a proverbial lifesaver or actually the gate to a path of devastation, Who can know the difference? It's therefore completely natural to be paralyzed with fear and remain with the misery which is familiar to us, rather than to take a risk and hope for the best. The message in this book will teach you how to take the risk out of taking risks. You will be able to move forward with confidence in pursuit of your dreams. You will know who to listen to, and you'll be able to trust what they say. In short, you'll be able to proceed methodically toward your worthy ideal, whatever it may be. You might be thinking, how could anyone be so certain? If that's your question, this book is for you. This particular story is about one man's struggle to thrive financially, but the principles apply to any objective a person may have. Having enjoyed a measure of financial success with the principles contained in this book, we've also applied them to more trivial things, such as locating a roll of lost packing tape in our utility closet, or obtaining the perfect parking spot in a time of crunch. These principles are even effective in simply finding the answer to a pressing question on my mind. Bottom line, it works. All we have to know is what we really want. In other words, the first thing we must do is simply pick our picnic, so to speak. Following is a modern day fable or allegory. Leslie has taken a brief analogy from another one of John W. Sims' dialogues and created a story around it so that its profound message will reach a greater audience and change lives for the better. What we've learned from John has certainly changed ours. Trevin Householder. Chapter 1, The Trouble. Richard, why can't you be more like your brother? Felicity muttered as she flung the handful of envelopes across the bed. The bills were left strewn across the old patchwork quilt with the laundry pile next to them. Pained by her comment, Richard pressed his lips together and swallowed hard. Clearly, she was at the end of her rope. Again, Felicity, Richard sighed heavily. Honey, I've been doing the best I know. Richard slumped into the old recliner. His shoulders hung forward, and he took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Then slowly began opening them again. He glared at her from under his dark, thick eyebrows. Besides, my brother is a crook. You really want to be married to a crook, huh? Well, sorry to break it to you, but I'm no crook. I'm just not. Crook or not, Richard, the kids have food on the table, and I don't believe all those stories about him anyway. Oh, come on. How do you explain all that money? I don't know. All I know is that I'm tired of living like this. Felicity's throat tightened and her eyes closed. Suddenly, she let out an angry noise and collapsed onto the bed, sending half the bill sliding off the blanket and striking the floor on their corners like falling daggers. Richard reached deep down and mustered one more attempt at moving forward. Okay, then, what should I do? Insurance? I've heard there's a lot of money in insurance. They say you can retire from selling it, and the money just keeps coming in. What about that? His voice was bland, and it was obvious that this insurance idea did not thrill him. Still, he was searching for some hopeful idea that might please Felicity. Sales, I thought you said you're no crook. Felicity's brief, playful smirk was her own feeble attempt at lifting the mood in the room, a mood that she was responsible for ruining. Richard was not amused. It took too much energy to respond the way he knew she wanted. This was supposed to be a serious conversation. I've tried everything else, Felicity. He stared blankly at the floor in front of him. He felt weak and tired, but no emotion. It was killing him to face the facts of their financial condition and realize his powerlessness to do anything about it. Just then, the bedroom door that had been slightly ajar flew open, and the doorknob hanged on the wall next to Felicity's chair. Richard didn't flinch, but Felicity shot an angry look toward little Matthew. Matthew didn't notice and scampered up onto Richard's lap. With the door wide open, the television could be heard in the kitchen as it played the whistling theme song to the Andy Griffith Show, which was having no positive effect on the cold feeling in the room. Exasperated, Richard finally spoke with sudden rage. Felicity, what the heck am I supposed to do? I've done everything I've ever been told. I finished school because they, the proverbial committee, always said I need a degree to get a good job. I hired on with Wheeler because everyone said his company was growing so whoop-de-doo fast that the profit sharing would blow our minds. I invested the last of our savings just the way Barry told me because he's done so well with the stock market. I bought this house because of all the hoopla that it was such a great deal. And now, look at us. We're still eating Oriental noodles once a day. Do you know how sick I am of noodles? Let's just up and move to China for crying out loud. Oh yeah, we couldn't even sell this dump if we wanted to because we owe more than it's worth. Matthew sat frozen on his father's lap. Neither Matthew nor Felicity was used to this kind of sarcasm coming from Richard. Felicity looked deeply into his eyes as he continued to fume, until he finally turned his face away from hers. Under his breath, Richard continued, and don't even mention that fiasco with my brother. All that money we spent, and it just didn't work, for us, at least. He took a deep breath and shook his head, as if to shake off rising emotion and to steady his voice. More calmly he spoke, as if to himself. How does Victor do it? I'm respectable, aren't I? That's all I can figure. The rich guys have got to be crooked, because the good guys like me get nowhere. Felicity approached him and gently turned his face back to her, looking into his eyes. A new kind of fear washed over her. She realized this was the first time he had verbalized his defeat. Up until now, he'd always gathered the strength to offer words of encouragement and hope. This time was different. Unconsciously tucking a loose strand of blonde hair behind her ear, she suddenly felt ashamed for the verbal beating she had given him. If only she could rewind the moment back just 10 minutes. She would play the part she had expected him to play, but it was too late. What was that look on his face? What did it mean? What comes next? This was a scenario with which she was not familiar. Whatever happened to the predictable routine? Wife feels discouraged, wife complains, husband comforts wife, and expresses confidence and determination to make things right. Just then, Richard gripped Matthew's arm and in one robotic motion, stood up and put his 4-year-old on the bed next to his mother, forcing Felicity to step out of the way. Matthew also seemed perplexed by the deadpan look on his father's eyes, and looked at his mother, searching her face for a little reassurance. Had he done something wrong? Richard left the room and mechanically picked up his jacket on his way through the kitchen and left through the side door. The door shut quietly. Felicity looked at little Matthew as if he might have the answers to the questions spinning through her own mind. He was wide-eyed and, of course, didn't say anything either. If Richard had slammed the door, she would have at least known that he was letting the last of his frustrations out, after which would have come about 2 hours of angry silence, followed by 10 minutes of quiet cohabitation, followed by an "I'm sorry," a healing conversation, a kiss. But this was new. Mommy, where's Daddy going? Felicity wondered the same thing, but said, he's probably just going to visit the neighbor. Without another word, she slowly walked to the window. She could still make out his figure through the old-fashioned warbled pane of glass. He was walking resolutely across their neighbor's pasture, but she perceived he was not headed toward the neighbor's house. She sat back down on the edge of the bed and observed, perplexed. In the other room, the television rattled on unnoticed. Forecast through Wednesday is partly cloudy, with temperatures ranging between 76 and 80 degrees. The disregarded noise only added more muddle to the clutter already filling her head. Breaking news. Local authorities have confirmed that the cause of the death in the Upnow case was suicide. Suicide. Felicity hadn't even noticed the television was still on, but the word lingered in her mind nonetheless. She didn't even realize it was the television that planted the word in the first place. Suicide. Suddenly a new thought took root, and she shuddered. He wouldn't. No. Would he? Things aren't that bad, are they? Richard? Felicity stood again and gently touched the window with her fingertips. She squinted and focused intently on the dark figure, now barely visible, as if a better look would help her know what Richard was thinking. Matthew, get your shoes, honey. We need to go for a walk. Chapter 2, the reflections. Well, we don't have quite enough time probably to go through this whole chapter. What I want to do, let's see here, is point out one more time, because someone new joined us. We have a Facebook group called Daily Law of Attraction Training and Support with Coach Kevin. It can be found at facebook.com/groups/Daily Law of Attraction Training. And this is where we're going to be archiving the recordings of these different classes and trainings. Also, like I said a few minutes ago, that we're in the book called The Jackrabbit Factor. And if you Google Jackrabbit Factor PDF or Jackrabbit Factor ebook, you can go ahead and find a copy for free. And the author of this specific book is actually a personal friend of mine. All right. Let me go ahead and stop with screen share here. And anybody have, based on, I know there wasn't a ton of training, although there was a good amount of training in the preface and introduction versus that first chapter. But anybody have any questions or comments this morning?
Not right now, Kevin. I'm good. I'm just listening right now. Thank you.
Joseph?
Yeah, ditto here.
Okay, Rich? How about you, Joseph?
Hi, everybody. I'm Joseph. Very nice to meet you, and thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's a very interesting story. It sounds very typical of a slice out of life, I guess, about the realities of. It is kind of can, the way I see it, it can kind of run deep.
Yeah, absolutely. And this book, normally a lot of the things we go through, they're not going to be story form like this, but I thought it'd be fun to mix it up and do something different. Felt inspired to do this. So it will definitely be a lot of teaching as we go on through this particular book, but it'll be in story form. The cool part about it is because it's in story form, it's actually going to be easy to remember what's been going on, which will be cool. I want to share, I know that Rich and Valerie have it already, but I'll share my email address with you. It is Coach Kevin Sparks. So just my name, CoachKevinSparks@gmail.com. And I'm a law of attraction coach. As far as who trained me and who my personal mentor is a gentleman by the name of Bob Proctor. Don't know if you've heard of Bob or not, Joseph.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
You have? Okay, perfect. So he is my, like I said, my coach and mentor and trainer. And I've also, outside of the law of attraction, I've worked very closely with, in the world of entrepreneurship and money and whatnot, with Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lecter. I don't know if you know who they are.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, cool.
Very interesting direction and topics.
Yeah, I actually what was it, December of 2005 through May of 2006 was actually an advisor to Robert Kiyosaki and his team. So not only did they have me around to advise them, but I learned a whole lot being around them. So I got to see the inner workings of their company and how they progressed. And then around the same time got trained by one of Bob Proctor's facilitators. And then last year, about this time, a little earlier in the year, received a phone call from Bob Proctor's team, and they asked me if I wanted to be a coach for their programs because I'd had success over the years, and they thought being a coach for them would be a good idea. So I've done that. However, I'm a coach when I say for myself. I still represent and have access to all their material, but I've broken off and now do my own coaching. So if you're ever interested in, personal coaching or group coaching or anything like that, just feel free to reach out.
It's very nice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, I will let you go for today, and we will keep going and see you tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock California time.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Kevin. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks.